Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pushing Media podcast. This week we're back with episode 13. It's going to be an interesting one. We have Barrage. I feel like I just messed that one up already.
You were like, oh, how do I pronounce this before the show? And then you bottled it.
It was the pressure. But nevertheless, we are here with Barrage Jeff. I think it's just the accent. I'm going to blame it on the accent.
You did good. Yeah, that's fine.
I appreciate it, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, man. I'm good, thank you. And of course, guys, before we do get deep into this podcast, as always, feel free, if you do have any questions for Jeff about his life, Barrage related, just drop them in the chat, and then we'll ask him, as long as that holds some relevance. And another thing before jumping into this one, a quick message to everybody. So we are no longer Pushing Media TV across all platforms. We have now changed just to Pushing Media, so the YouTube, Twitter, and of course the Twitch. Get rid of the TV. We are now simply just Pushing Media. Now, obviously, for the viewers, explain who you are.
So my name's Jeff Simpkins. I always have that problem saying my name is Jeff, because like that's
My name is Jeff.
really essential. So yeah, I'm Jeff Simpkins. I am the owner of Barrage Esports, who are a UK esports team, I guess, is probably the short way of putting it.
I mean, you've been around for a while as well.
All right, rub it in. Yeah.
Doesn't make you feel old.
I know, yeah. So Barrage has been around since 2015, but then I didn't take 2014 rather. But I didn't take over till 2016, sort of the end of 2016. Before that, I was running an organization called Cognate, which doesn't exist anymore. I nearly said invented it. Like I founded that one and then left to come to Barrage because obviously it was a more established brand. So yeah, and then I've been running it ever since end of 2016. So
Things are going good.
yeah, I mean, 2019 was rough. I think we had this sort of transition period where we went like fully into League of Legends, and we didn't do very well. Is probably the best way of putting it.
I mean, you're 7-1. So
Oh, we are now, yeah, 2020.
I keep up to date.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, going into this year, we looked at the way we built our roster completely differently. We had a much better staff team in place, like ready for the start of the season. So yeah, I mean, we're absolutely smashing at the moment. Like, I can't complain at 7-1 when the only loss was to Excel, and that was a close game.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely doing much better coming now into the start of the new year. But 2019 was a little bit rough. I think it's fair to say we've learned a lot though. So that's all you can do really. It's one of those, isn't it?
So is League of Legends like your main focus now then?
I think it has to be because I think the UK esports scene is, for want of a better word, pretty shit.
Yeah.
Um, and the good thing about the league scene is that it's sustainable to some extent,
Hmm.
because of the support that's provided by Riot and now DreamHack, but previously LVP. So it's where we've had to shift our focus to become sort of a sustainable business, really, which UK esports doesn't really think about sustainability or about it even as a business. 90% of the people that are running UK esports scenes and esports teams, and this is probably why we're one of the only ones that have survived this long, because we are looking at it in that way. It's not some community shitty thing where we
Yeah.
have Fortnite players and we spend fucking tons of money sending a different COD team to an event every week, because it just
Shouts
doesn't
out
work.
every org.
Yeah, yeah, flame. So it just doesn't work. You can't do that, and it's not sustainable. Like, yeah, we rebuild our roster every season, but we keep them for like 6 months at a time. We're not
Hmm.
we're not going through on every different event.
With a different
'Cause
team.
it's just fucking expensive. Plus, how are you supposed to promote? I guess when you are an organization in the UK and of this size, like, people follow players, they don't follow teams necessarily.
Yeah.
Um, so you need to promote them and their brand and them being with you. So if they're not even there with you after the event, it's really difficult because that's where you get 95% of your content and all that sort of stuff. So, um, yeah, so that's kind of where that's why we've gone fully into league for the time being anyway. Um, just for that reason.
So you joined the UK LC in 2019, so last year. And
Yeah.
now obviously you're back again for season two. You was in season one, right?
Yeah, so season
Yeah.
1 was start of 2019, yeah, and then
Hmm.
we're in season 3 now. Yeah.
And now obviously, as you said, you're 7-1 and you're sitting at second in the table. So investments and your time is working out well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got a phenomenal staff team. Like, Frumi, who's the team manager, he's built an amazing team alongside Alex, who's like our sports psychologist. Except he
Yeah.
doesn't really like being called that. He's our he's the brainy one that thinks about all the personality stuff and like does meditation with the players and all sorts of stuff. Like, and when you think about where we came from, like, this was a Call of Duty org. Like,
Mhm.
we this is where Barrage made the name for themselves in Call of Duty. Um, and if you think about like doing meditation and fucking player personality testing and all that sort of stuff, like, that just doesn't happen in Call of Duty. Like, it
Yeah.
just doesn't exist. Like, it's a step behind in terms of where it's at as a professional esport. So that has been a breath of fresh air, actually dealing with, uh, I guess, a more mature scene generally, and in the way that it's sort of like
Less toxic.
definitely. Well, I mean, League is still pretty toxic generally as a game, but
Mm.
the players, especially since like sort of last year, the players involved in the league are much better because the rules are much stricter and things like that. So, yeah, it's better for that reason.
A question from the chat is: speaking of content, is there any content coming soon that you can reveal of? Or
Pete knows that there is because he pretty much sees like 90% of it
uh,
before anyone else. But yeah, so we obviously have games tomorrow and Wednesday, so we don't like to put things out on the same night that we are obviously having.
promoting? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Thursday we should have like a vlog that we did from Media Weekend that'll be coming out, and then we've got a content plan, so we'll have something new every week, maybe 2 videos every week, but for now, definitely at least one new video or piece of content each week. So
So you sort of see the difference in how, from when you started, obviously in 2014, to where we are as an esports in a general now and in organizations. So I think it's quite interesting, as you said, you only speculate and put your effort into one esports mainly, and now obviously you've got your content going on as well. Do you think
yeah.
you benefit like more doing that?
100%, yeah. I mean, I think when you're focused on so many different things as well, like there's only so many ways you can split your time.
Hmm.
Especially when this isn't a full time job for the
Yeah,
ones of us that are with with Barrage. Um, you have to be quite selective about where you spend your time. So investing it into league and into whatever game it is, I think fully investing yourself into one area or almost finding a niche as well, like because there's so many esports teams now, like there's literally hundreds of them. Like I can probably only tell you a handful of them that are even worthy of mentioning in the UK though, and that's the difference. And I think where you've got to kind of find a niche really. You've either got to dedicate yourself fully to something, like whether it be mobile esports or battle royales or whatever it is. I think if you start out like that, and then if you become massive, you can do whatever the fuck you want then. But
yeah.
I think certainly when you're starting out, it's better to just focus on one area and be good at that rather than be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Um, so yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do at the moment until we can get that sort of investment to take us to the next level, and then start looking at other esports.
What was the sort of thought process going into that? So obviously, like like bouncing out of the other esports and solely focusing on league. Like, how come it was league and like not something else? Was that because of like the UK LC, or was it just the fact it's league and it's more mature?
Um, I guess a couple of reasons, like partly because it is more mature, but like
Yeah.
I think the UKLC and the sustainability that provided for us, that was definitely massive. Like no other esport is doing that at this level.
Hmm.
Um,
Agree.
if you look at like Counter Strike or anything like that, there's no return for the organizations. You have prize money, and yeah, you can get a chunk of that, but it's entirely reliant on your team doing really well
Yeah.
for you to get anything back. Um, and then half the time, the team still breaks up. So I think I think with the setup that we've got at the moment, we benefit from like doing content and promoting the league and all that sort of stuff because we have a separate sort of set of objectives and targets that the league want us to achieve, so that we earn money as an org, like separate to the prize money.
Hmm.
So then we're not as reliant on having to finish first or whatever to actually. I mean, it'd be great this season because we'd be fine, but
Yeah.
previously, certainly last year, if we were solely reliant on that, we would have struggled. Because League probably isn't the cheapest esport to be in, but because of what you get back from the setup that Riot and DreamHack have got in place, it makes it worth being there.
Did you find it sort of hard to leave Call of Duty then? Because you said obviously that was the thing that made Barrage. So to leave that esports, did you think it was like a sort of
Uh, I mean, I think especially when we first left, like I was still getting messages all the time about like picking up teams, and obviously, look,
hi,
it was
can you
still
send our team to so and so?
yeah. So, and I still do get that now, but I think before there was more of an expectation that we had to be involved, whereas now it's less so. I don't really feel bad because in particular, this game I really don't enjoy, and I think that
Call of
Activision,
Duty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think Activision have done a really good job of absolutely killing it as an esport. Um, the challenger tournaments that go alongside the main tournaments are fucking like they're dog shit. The fact that you can't, like, as an organization, say for example, I read in the rules because I read the rule book before we decided 100% whether we were going to go back in,
Hmm.
because for the new game, because it obviously all changed with franchising and all
Yeah.
that. But the fact that you couldn't sell your players So the CDL teams could basically take your players at any point because you couldn't refuse to sell them, and the most that you could sell them for was what you were paying them for the year, which
Hmm.
is fine if you're paying them like 5 grand a month and they come from February. But if you're
Yeah.
paying 5 grand a month and they come from in November, then yeah, you've got your money back for the year. That's great. But you've lost your players or whatever, and it just didn't make sense. It wasn't sustainable at all. And the amount that you would have to pay out, like it was very high risk, high reward. Well, high risk, low reward. Um, and yeah, I just didn't like the setup. But also, in terms of staying away, it was quite easy because Activision made that quite easy for us. Um, but then, like, you look at who's doing well, and it's sort of like Jed and fucking, the boys at Singularity. And I know them lads, really
Yeah.
well. They've all played for Barrage. So you think, oh, maybe I could have signed that team, but then the amount we'd have had to pay out would have been extortionate anyway. So yeah, I think it's made it easier to stay away. I think the big
Hmm.
one for me that's been harder is not being able to get back into Rainbow Six because that's kind of where I came from. Um, so not being able to go back into that at the minute has been harder, and I really have been trying. Like, um, it's just people are stupid. People want. I think people overvalue themselves for what they're actually doing.
In
The
terms of players, or
Yeah, players, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So like in terms of like what they wanted to play in the ESL Premiership was just ridiculous considering how I mean the Prem's a great tournament and the Rainbow Six community is great, but they're not they're not going to win the league. A lot of the players, and they're asking for for salaries that just aren't reasonable
Mm.
and don't really make sense. So that's made it harder to get back in and to find that team that's. Plus, I don't want to get back in and be a middle of the pack team on
Yeah.
anything anymore. I want to build teams that can win, and that's probably where we again another thing when I say about focusing on one area, it allows you to do that. It allows you to be able to go and build a team that is going to win rather than, have about five different teams that aren't really up to scratch. It just kind of gives you that a little bit more.
No, I get that. So is League of Legends your favorite esports then, or is it Rainbow Six? Just turn around and say COD.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate playing League. It is the most frustrating game
Oh yeah,
in the world.
100%.
Um, I love watching Siege and I love watching League. Um, my actual favorite esport to watch is probably Counter Strike.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
don't know why.
Just
I've
entertaining,
I
any.
think I've only ever had a Counter Strike team once. They were a great bunch of lads, but yeah, it's just a good esport, and like I think the crowds are always sick. Um, yeah, no, I think Counter Strike's probably my favorite esport to actually watch. I can't play it either for shit, but yeah.
You got them old man reactions, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm getting on a bit. Like I can't figure out all the recoil and stuff. I just want to hit somebody in the head when I'm aiming at the head. Do you
Just
know?
get that one tap and just like
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like
Well, that's
good luck.
that's why this is why I played Siege. Like I only had to hit them once and they were dead. Like that's fine.
Just so you feel that little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like it made sense as well. Headshots kill people. That's normal. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't
That, I
know.
mean, that is technically how it should be in
Yeah,
anything, but
yeah,
Call of Duty have a different idea.
yeah, for sure. Well, Call of Duty have a few different ideas. So
Now, on the side of Barrage as well, we know that you're a big support of big supporter, sorry, of Special Effect, and obviously you do a lot of fundraisers for them. Um, Obviously, we know why that is so because it's charity and it's a good thing to do. But why is that so? If you know what I mean.
yeah, I mean, I don't really know how we got started. It was kind of me and my brother that
Hmm.
wanted to do it in the first place. Um, I feel a bit guilty talking about this because we actually didn't do Game Blast this year, which is like the big charity gaming
Yeah.
marathon. Because we just couldn't do it. I basically got one of the League of Legends players living with me, and he has my computer, so like we couldn't even do a stream. So yeah, so it's yeah, I mean, it's an amazing charity. They basically help people with physical disabilities to play video games again or for the first time ever. Um, and I think when I sat down and thought about it, I was like, can you imagine if, if I lost my leg tomorrow, or whatever, you wouldn't be able to do anything that like normal people, everyday people can do. Um, so, to not be able to do that and also not be able to play video games or whatever, maybe not leg as an example, but you say you lost your arm or something
Yeah,
like,
or a hand or something.
yeah. So not to be able to do those things as well, which are a massive escape, like for a lot of people, like at the end of the day, when you come home from work, you had a shit day, you just want to sit
Mhm.
down, play some Xbox, play whatever, and just get out of whatever you were thinking about. And I think that's amazing, and especially if you can't do what you used to do or what other people can do, I think not, being able to do those things is really important. So that's kind of why we help them out when we do.
No, I completely respect that, and as you say, it's understandable. Gaming, it's a scapegoat for a lot of people. As you said, a bad day at work, or just even generally a bad life or a bad
Yeah,
mindset can fix that. So
100%.
screw to the news about gaming kills people or whatever, because to me it helps them. So
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you on that.
yeah. I think, like I say, it's massively important, and I think unless you're playing League and it just rage induces you more, like, you know,
Yeah, don't solo queue.
yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah.
solo
No, so,
queue, Jesus Christ, you
but
putting the
other than
screen through.
that, yeah.
I don't think I even
Yeah.
solo queue anymore in that game. I just can't.
I can't even play, flex queue, so it's just, I'm not making any excuses, like, I'm just bad at the game.
Is there anything that you've got a big plan with special effect coming forward, or?
Nothing big off the top of my head. Um, One of the ideas that we are pitching to sponsors is that, and for the right sponsor, it would have to be, but, that we basically beat the world record for the longest stream, like, on Twitch,
Do you know what that is?
and it's 161 hours. So it's like 6 days and something, I think,
Yeah.
in my head. So to break the longest stream and, like, raise money for special effect the whole time, is something that I want to try and do. But it's just getting the support to actually put that in place and be able to do that
Yeah.
for. Um, but other than that, we normally volunteer with them at Insomnia, so we probably will be doing that again. Like, I'm not confirmed on that, but those are the two things that are in the pipeline anyway. Hopefully.
Awesome, man. And
Hmm.
another thing, you are partnered with of course, the Gamers Apparel, the GA. If you want, feel free to plug. Just feel free to plug.
Just I don't need to plug. Just go and buy our merch. Our jerseys are really nice. We've got some new joggers going on the site as well, which are beautiful. Um, yeah, I mean, Jamie's a great guy at Gamers Apparel, so he
Yeah.
looks after us. So, yeah, great
How long
great
have you been
client.
with them for now?
This is not as long as you'd think. Actually, we were with them, and then we went to Armour for a little bit, and then we were with BLK Sport, which is like a UK sports brand. Well, they're actually based in Australia, but we didn't have a good time with them at all. And then we came back to Gamers Apparel because, yeah, back home. So that's where we still are at the minute. And yeah, we met up with Jamie from Gamers Apparel only at our media weekend, like the
Mhm.
weekend before last. So yeah, great relationship with them.
Awesome, man. Brad put in the chat. So does that mean Mr. Jeff is going to Insomnia?
Yeah, I'm definitely Insomnia. Who did somebody ask that?
Yeah,
Oh
Brad.
yeah. Oh yeah,
GW.
Brad. Yeah, I'll be there. Don't. I'm probably not going to get BYOC. I'm probably just going to volunteer and wander around and play board games and go around the expo and that. That's if it doesn't get cancelled because of coronavirus, of course. In the meantime, but
Oh, Jesus Christ.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, IEM this weekend got cancelled. Like, the whole audience wasn't allowed in because of it. So hopefully that doesn't happen over here. But yeah, other than that, I'll definitely be there.
Now, back on to the topic of esports, what would
Mhm.
be your next venture? So, obviously, your league's doing well.
Mm.
You're in season 3 now. You're 7-1, as you said, and you put a lot of time into the players. You put a lot of time into making that correct. When do you think that would be settled? So, when do you think you could sit back and be like, okay, like league's good. We're good with league. We've still got it there. It's fine. Next venture.
I think one of the issues that we have at the moment is because I mean I want to go into other esports, but having the
Yeah.
funding to be able to go into them to do them properly. Like
Hmm.
we could go into another esport tomorrow, but we would do a half-assed job of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to make sure that we do it properly. So we're just trying to get new partners and sponsors, and we're still looking for investment as well to try and make it much bigger. If we get those things in place, then definitely. I mean, the ones that I want to go into right now, for various different reasons, are sort of Rocket League is one that I'm really keen to go into.
That's taken off massively.
Yeah, the viewership is phenomenal. Even in RLRS, it's like 42,000 people watching every game.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and then there's also the good thing about Rocket League is there's also that separate revenue source where you can potentially like get in-game items, for barrage skins for the cars and
Mhm.
all that sort of stuff, which would be amazing. Um, and it's just such a good esport to as an entry to esports, I guess, for anybody that isn't always watching esports. League of Legends, for example, is really fucking hard to understand if you don't
Oh,
know anything
majorly.
about it. So I think to have something like Rocket League would be really good, so that we have that complete variation as well, where we could have something that's easy to understand, easy to follow, and easy to engage brands in as well. Um, and then apart from that, I want to go back to Rainbow Six for very similar reasons as well. And the UK scene for Rainbow Six is phenomenal. Like the community is amazing. I went to ESL Prem finals in November, and the the Rainbow Six finals were sold out, like completely full. And then I went back the next day for Counter Strike, and there was about 10 people there, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is ridiculous!" Like, I just expected it to be full for Counter Strike as well, but there was nobody there.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, "Holy shit, the Rainbow Six like community is awesome." And we've already got like people like Grief Drums on board at Barrage, who's a massive like Siege content creator and stuff. So it's a natural sort of progression for us to go back into Siege. Um, so yeah, those are probably the two that I'm looking at next. Um, and then I mean, I'd love to go into Counter Strike, but to do it properly, I think we need a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not something that's feasible at the moment, anyway.
I
Maybe
get that.
maybe maybe Valorant, because that's the new Riot one, isn't it? The Project
Mm.
A. Just
Yeah.
maybe that's something that we could look at when they release more details, but we know nothing at the minute. So
100%. And content for 2020. Do we have big plans?
yeah, huge plans if we
You
can
said
make them
that with a
happen.
big smile.
Yeah, I mean, I've always got amazing ideas for content, but actually
Yeah.
being able to put them in place
Mhm.
is another thing. Because I mean, what I wanted to do this season was to send our content team out, and I think I mentioned it on Twitter like yesterday or the day before about sending our content team out to the players' houses. So like fly them out to Kevo, our ADC out in Finland, um, and go and meet them and meet the team, meet the families, learn about them, and then stay with them for the games, and then see what their like lifestyles like around esports, and get to know them much more in depth. But flying our content team out to a different country every weekend is not that easy.
Yeah.
Um, especially when we've got players this season from America and Australia,
Yeah.
so that would be really interesting. Um, so yeah, I mean, those are things I want to do. We've got some big plans. It's just whether we can put them in place. I think as well. Even talking about the charity stream, like breaking a world record would be insane, and I'd love to do that. Um, so that's definitely something that I'd like to achieve, and to do it for special effect would be amazing. So yeah, we've always got content planned, but it's whether we can just find the right people to help us do it, I guess.
I get that. Sorry, I was reading the chat.
Yeah, so
Enigmars lol. Is that person's name with you? Am I saying that right? Engimars?
enigmas.
Enigmars, yeah.
Yeah. He's just
He
he's
said,
just talking about Ericsson being a smurf. Like that's our mid laner for the league team, and
yeah.
just having a phenomenal season. Really, he's come out of nowhere as well. Like he's a young lad, not really played a proper professional league before. Not like this anyway. And yeah, he's having a good season. So
The new faker.
he's the Norwegian faker. Yeah.
No, before the podcast, obviously you mentioned, and Bob, you mentioned during the podcast, 2019, it was a very sticky sort of year. The
Yeah.
pavement sort of got closed off for a bit, and
Yeah.
things slowed down. Coming into 2020, obviously people, they know as soon as you say Barrage, everyone just knows automatically what it is, what it's involved with. You don't say that and you say, what's that? Like, you know what I mean? So you guys have been around for a while, you're massive. So props to you guys for doing that. But in 2020, how do you push forward?
I think we just have to find, either the investment or the sponsors that helps us branch out. Really, dedicate more time to it and more resources, so that we can, not just be in League of Legends, and we can look at other
Mhm.
esports that people want us to be in, and start really something that I really want to do in 2020 as well is we ran a survey at the end of 2019 about basically Northern esports fans were involved in the questionnaire, and
Yeah.
it suggested quite strongly that people were more likely to support a local team. So what we want to do is be able to put events on across the north,
Okay.
to engage those fans with us and with our brand and with our players, so that we can start to build that relationship and get hands on. Not pardon the phrasing, but get hands on with the fans, and
Yeah.
and really make some proper fans for the organization, because I mean it is really difficult. People follow players, but they don't necessarily always follow the org, like I say. But I think that is a step towards trying to achieve that, and showing people like around the north that we are here and we're sort of representing them. Because we're the biggest team in the north of the UK. Like
Yeah.
there's a few big teams in London, but up here there isn't really um, that same representation. So we want to try and be that for this area. So that's something that I definitely really want to do. But again, it's just finding the time and the resources to make sure that happens. So yeah.
Mhm. And to anybody in the chat, this is now for your benefit. So not to, excuse my French, shit on anybody. As you've been at it for a while, and obviously as you said, you've seen the difference, to focusing on one esports to focusing on pure content compared to send a team there, not get nothing back, etc. What
Yeah.
sort of advice would you even like try to offer out for people essentially starting up an org, or that they're mid into it, but they're still in that phase of, because I think a lot of orgs are still in the phase of, we'll get a team, we'll send them to this event, we'll make nothing, then we'll get another team, send them to so and so, get
Yeah.
nothing. But fair enough to get attraction, to get content, but to push yourself further, there needs to be a little bit more. So where would you sort of see the tipping point for the sort of change?
Um, I think it's about mindset, like people's mindsets, both players and teams. It has to be good for both parties. It can't just be good for one or the other. Like it can't be that the players just take all the prize money and the orgs left with nothing, and it can't be that the orgs, do the opposite. Like they don't give the players anything, don't give them any reason to be there.
Mhm.
There has to be a nice middle ground, and everybody has to benefit. And I think people need to think about what they're doing rather than just going right. Let's just go into everything.
Yeah.
uh, they need to think about what they're doing a little bit and think about why they're doing it. I think one of the best ways to think about esports, like running an esports org, is to consider your teams a marketing tool, and that's all they are. Um, which sounds fucking horrible, actually saying it out loud. But like,
It's how it
build,
works though.
yeah, yeah, and you've got to treat them as a way to market the other things that you
Yeah.
do. So if you're not doing anything else, then you need to be like, if even if it's just they are a marketing tool for you to sell jerseys, or they are a marketing tool for you to get sponsors. That's what they're there for, and that's how
Hmm.
you need to think about it. So if you're not making content with them, you're not promoting them. You're doing a half-arsed job, or you're making content from an event, but by the time the content comes out, nobody gives a shit. Like it's a
Yeah.
month later, or the team's already disbanded after the event. It's pointless. People need to start thinking about long term planning and sustainability, um, and then think of it as a business, not just some team that you run out of your bedroom. And I think that once people start to think about that more and start to be more professional about the way that they run things, I think that it just changes the game, really does.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
I think
net,
coming
net
back. Go on.
as well.
Sorry.
Networking as well is a big one. Like just speaking to people at events and making people aware
Oh,
of who you are, and
100%.
it's probably the biggest thing. And I'm guilty of not doing this nearly enough. Like, so yeah, just getting your name out there really is really important. So
I think one thing I would say as well would be investments. So, for example, as you said, content wise, you want to, if you want to do it yourself, do it yourself. Like, but I think it's always better to sort of say push out an extra £60 to sort of hire a professional or someone to know what they're doing, what they're good at to record your team. Like a Optic Vision series or
yeah,
Energy Hunt series, stuff like that. So, like what Hex does basically, like
yeah.
little things like that to make it that little bit further and a little bit better. And I think a lot of people don't view that.
No. And if you're going to spend a grand or 500 quid to send a team to an event, you might only have to spend a couple of £100 more
Hmm.
to send somebody to cover the event. But that is probably more valuable than actually sending a team there, because you could win the event, but nobody's going to, after they've posted it on Twitter, are people actually going to remember?
Yeah,
So I think you have to publicize what you're doing as well. Like you can get some of the best content we've made has been from us losing. Like I remember honestly, like I remember sending us to Call of Duty Birmingham, CWL Birmingham, and both our teams. We had our girls team there, and we had our main team there with Avo and
hmm,
what have you. And we finished like fucking top 90 or something. Like it was shit placement. It was a
hmm,
bad event for us. But the content that we made on the back of that was really good, um, because it showed like the players' personalities and it showed their emotions and how they were feeling about it and all these things. And I think that's like probably more important than actually them just being there. Well, obviously because we didn't win. So I mean, I think people need to think about that. Again, it's about marketing. It's all about marketing yourself properly.
100%. I literally completely agree. And as you said, networking as well is such a huge thing. And now you see a lot of orgs around us just slowly dropping off, dying, or
Yeah,
cancelling, and it's just mm, it's one of
yeah,
them. It's always going to be one of them. But I think you've hit the nail on the head where you do look into one esport, you do sort of wait on that, put all your eggs into that basket for now, and then as you can tell, it pays off. You're 7-1 for one reason. Do you know what I mean? You've put your effort and time into that, and instead of thinking, okay, I got 50% here on league, I got 50% on COD, and I've got I got a random 5% which is over sitting on
yeah.
Siege, for example. So
Yeah, I
a lot
think
of
as
people
well,
just do that.
realizing that you can't do everything and like making sure that you've got the right people to help you as well. Because there's tons of people that want to work in esports.
100%.
Like they might not have any experience, but they might be really good at like I don't
Hmm.
know, designing or building communities or just managing people. And
Yeah,
like having those people around you that are actually like going to be dedicated to improving with you is massive because they get as much out of it as you do. So I think making up for the knowledge that you lack with other people is super important as well.
completely agree. I mean, for me, I'm actually all out of questions. So, guys, if you do have any in the chat before we wrap it up, feel free to send them through. One question I will have left off the top of my head: 2020, can we expect big things?
Um, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's you can never say for certain. Like you can plan for everything. Sorry, my dog's gonna have a stroke.
The dog's disagreeing with you.
Um, Yeah, I think you can plan for everything, but we've almost got two sets of plans really. So
Mhm.
we've got a plan for if we don't get any more funding and no more support, we have a plan for how that looks for 2020, and then we have a plan for, say, Man United comes and buys us tomorrow, then we have a plan
Yeah.
for that. So you know, I think you have to think ahead. Of course, we have some huge plans, but it's just whether we can actually do them. Like it's entirely out of our hands. I don't think I think last year was particularly bad because of Brexit. So nobody wanted to invest in the UK. Like it didn't matter how good your plans were, people just didn't want to invest money here. Um, so hopefully going into this year, now that shower of shit sorted, um, we
You
we might
just
be
got
able to.
coronavirus now.
Yeah, just coronavirus now. So, um, so hopefully that looks up and we can, maybe properly make some, headway in that area. And then yeah,
Mhm. I like that. I think that's not what I don't think I've ever heard an esports organizer tell me that they've actually got a plan for if they have nothing and a plan for if they have everything. So
yeah,
I like that, and I'm excited to see what you bring out in the future. The
yeah.
final question from the chat is Powered Coat. Does the UKLC support you in regards to financials in a good way, or how does it work with targets? If you're allowed to talk on that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So basically, we have a separate pot of money that the organisations can earn.
Hmm.
Um, the so last season in particular, it was basically like promoting the streams. We had to promote the streams, make content, without going too much into specifics like numbers. But these are the things that we had to do.
Yeah.
And then there was like certain targets that as a group of teams we had to try and hit in terms of like viewer numbers, social media interactions, and all those sorts of things, basically to promote the league and to promote us really. And then we hit targets and got paid out as a result of those.
I get that.
Probably the best way to describe it, I guess.
I mean, I think that's the only way.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, without revealing too much of what you can't,
yeah,
obviously. So,
yeah. It's a
but,
good system anyway. It is a good system.
I mean, it's been working so well, and it's
100%.
fairly new as well, and it's literally taken off the ground, so you can tell it works. And
Yeah.
there's some smart minds behind it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll start seeing it in more esports, and we already see it to some extent in like the franchise leagues. They have similar things in place, but this is like certainly the first national league that I'm aware of that has these sorts of incentives, I guess, for the organisations. So yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time out, of course, and talking to us and letting us know a little bit more of insight for what is to come in for Barrage in 2020. So it's actually been quite eye opening. You're one of my most eye opening podcasts so far, so I like that.
I think yeah, good. I mean, I aim to please. So I think a lot of people are not as willing to talk openly about what they want to do as well.
Yeah.
Whereas we might as well be quite transparent and let people know what we want to do and what we're trying to achieve,
Mhm.
because somebody watching this might go, oh fuck, well I know somebody that wants to work with Barrage, and maybe you
Yeah.
never know, do you? Plus, I think being open and honest about these things is how people like sort of relate to you as well, and like they want to support you and stuff on the back of that as well. So yeah, it doesn't make any difference whether we tell you the plans or not, do we? If we all grow together. If you steal the ideas, then fucking brilliant. Like some of this stuff, like it's not like secret. It's just
Yeah.
stuff we kind of figured out over the last 5 years. So if the UK scene grows, it's only good for all of us. So might as well share the ideas.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us, man. We do appreciate it.
Cheers, Connor. Yeah, thanks for having me.
100%. It's been amazing. And guys, thank you to everybody that tuned in for episode 13 of the Pushing Media podcast. This was Jeff Simpkins, the owner of Barrage. And of course, there go the plugs in the chat. Make sure you go follow Barrage. Their YouTube's there, their Twitter's there, and obviously Jeff's Twitter's there as well. So make sure you go follow this amazing man. And of course, if you do want to scroll down, you can see all about Pushing Media, the YouTube about us. You can find our Twitter there, etc. And you can see who we tweet out who's going to be our next guest for next week. But apart from that, guys, that is going to be it for this week. Thank you for that tuned in, and we'll catch you all next week.